Well, another week, another Sunday recap video. But I didn't call it Sunday recap because even though I promised, well, I didn't really promise. Like I said, I would make a lore video, like pertaining to Scarlet Rot and the Worm Faces. Uh, yeah, I had to get more footage inside of Elden Ring, and I had to like look up how to do the quests, and like I had to like basically start the game over just to get the rest of the footage out for the context of the video. But, I mean, in 4K, the game actually looks really good. I thought, like, there wouldn't be that much differences in terms of, like, detail and stuff between the PS4 and the PS5 version, but no, like, the load times are obviously better, but, like, the detail is, second to, I wouldn't say second to none, but it's pretty out there, but like, and this is just Elden Ring. Like, wait until you see Nightreign. What I've been doing ever since like Friday. Like, I was actually when I got it, I regretted it because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna put this game down, am I? Because it does away with like a lot of the fluff and like the limitations that you would get in a game like this, where once you like, clear out the whole level, that's it. There's nothing left for you to do, and you have to start the game all over again. And like I think Night Rain not only addresses it, but also like perfects the formula to like almost like a perfect level, although it has its like problems. But I'll get into that when I show off the gameplay of the Night Rain. And like it has its faults and its problems, and I think that like maybe in time it'll correct them. So I'm not like, too impatient about it. But there's also other news concerning obviously the usual drama, the left versus right, or like, the right versus the wrong. Right versus wrong versus like it's the way that you actually have to say it now because you can't say left versus right. It's like the right side of history versus the wrong side of history. Like you're on the losing side of history when you have to say that we're on the right side of history. Like when you have to say it out loud, that's when you know you're on the losing side. And like they repeat that mantra over and over again to like influence the uneducated masses of people who watch their movies and stuff and like look up to them as like idols and like pay for their like excessive amounts of like luxury and like the kind of life that you would have to be like looking down at people and being judgmental of them, like Hassan looking down at like everybody. Like I don't think like he's ever gonna be able to like stomach the fact that he'll lose to a guy like Asmongold, because I know a guy like Hassan. At first, he might seem cool about it, but then he'll do like a little bit of digging, maybe on his own time, or maybe someone will like shoot him a link or something, and then that's it. And he knows, like deep down, that people are pushing his buttons, but he doesn't care. Like all he cares about is like the fact that like as long as he can win in the eyes of people, then like hooray, right? But I don't know, like I see like this whole conflict between the left and the right, bubbling up, people getting banned, Frogan's being brought up again. And like I can care less. Like everyone's just like, these not like unimportant people, but like, like people who are like trying to get between, I wouldn't even say Asmongold is trying to compete with Hassan, but like I think as a content creator, he's almost obliged. Like I don't think he's forced. He's obliged to because he's going to make money off of it to talk about like the controversy that Hassan said about him. Hassan said about Ethan Klein. Hassan said about this, about that. Like it's almost obvious at this point that everybody's making money off of Hassan, minus Hassan. Like he's not making money off of his own name. Like he's only making money off of his failing ideology, which is you know like corporately run at best and like just insincere at worst. And like he's always throwing out these platitudes for like pro terrorism, this and that, and like you think like he's the only one. Oh man. Sungrat. Sungrad, oh Sungrad. Oh my goodness. The curse of Azure. I thought it was me. I mean him, then it was me. And then I realized I just use him as an excuse to like, deal with the fact that I'm a very, not by nature, but like, I guess by like, seclusion and like, my personal choices. I'm a pretty dark person. People don't like to be around me, they like to run away. They like to call their friends, ask for help, get backup. And poor Sungrad, he's being pushed almost to the edge. He feels as if people keep pushing him, he might get violent. He might punch you IRL. His words, not mine. Now, what could lead poor Sungrad to this madness, this decay, from a wholesome content creator to a guy strumming his banjo and his piano, and it's like he had this like strange looking harp. It has so many strings on it. I'm like, wow, to be able to play something like that must like have you must have like some skills and stuff that I don't know about. I thought you were a game developer, Sungrad, for Nintendo. The Nintendo game developer. But I find that like it's funny how everybody, including Sungrad, expected Nintendo to come up with a more powerful console. And I think he kind of blames me because I was hyping him up. And I hyped him Marathon too, and Marathon turned out to be a abundant failure. Marathon. Yeah, when you go on the PlayStation Store, it's actually showing there. I don't know why. It's like it wants me to get interested in that game, and I'm just like, um, wouldn't it be better, like at this junction, right? Knowing that like the content was stolen, and people aren't necessarily keen on a game like this. Wouldn't it be better for them to re-release the game as a more like you can keep the multiplayer component of the game, right? Like you don't have to lose that, but like make it single player, like the first three games were for the Mac or whatever. Like that seems like a better solution than to just go all in. And I don't know why I'm sticking out for Marathon again. I'm gonna curse them. And like I have so many games to enjoy. Elden Ring, Monster Hunter, the list goes on. It's so cool because it's like I always wanted to like I don't know, just have fun and stuff. And now like I don't know if people who have like a fan base or a loyalty towards Nintendo feel like personally slighted by the idea that like they won't get Monster Hunter, they might not get a lot of good games that everybody else gets to have. I don't think like I mean it looks gorgeous, but I don't think that like after like a year or two, people are going to nah, never mind. They're gonna still be talking about Grand Theft Auto. Never mind. But like Nintendo has never mind. They just have Metroid. If Metroid doesn't do well, the whole system is like a total brick. It all hangs on the grasps of Metroid and the like. And Sungrad probably knows this. I always honestly hope that like there would be like a different Fire Emblem or like more experimental games that explore like different concepts. Like this new Donkey Kong. At first I thought it was just gonna be like whatever, jump around, collect a bunch of stuff. No, it looks pretty fun, as in like you're like crushing and destroying stuff and like changing the levels. That's gotta be for something. But that's Sungrad. Oh man, he's not taking it. Not taking it well. I don't know what to tell you, man. Hey, Sungrad, if you're actually watching this video, I do mean this at the bottom of my heart. I'm not being facetious when I say this. Chances are the Switch 2 is gonna get Nightreign. Real talk. It's a good game, dude. Maybe one day There'll be there won't be crossplay, but you know, you don't need to play with dirty non-Nintendo fans. I mean, like, I love the game because it's so addicting, and I just didn't want to touch it because I'm like, okay, I gotta come out with this lore video on Sunday, and I thought to myself, is anybody gonna watch this? So I go online and I just check, and like, it's non-stop people playing Night Rain non-stop. Excuse me. Wow, it's the first time I ever burped like that on a video. Excuse me very dearly, my bad. I like to do these all in like one take. So that's how you know I'm like a not an AI or like someone typing some like monotone bullshit into a keyboard to like tell you some stuff because that's what it is. Like I feel sometimes, and this isn't me knocking any YouTuber because I understand the whole formula and I understand like the comfort of saying everything that you want to say in one concisive, phrase and sentence without like, having to do more than one take or pause or stutter or burp like I just did. But like eventually you're going to find that like, the whole human interaction, like you coming onto these videos watching me play video games and you're hearing just my voice, right? Like I'm not gonna bore you by showing my face talking. Could you imagine? You're watching my video for like, 26 minutes and you see my face for like, 24, 25 minutes? Like what the fuck, man? I'm trying to like learn something, and I'm just gonna look at your face, like looking at me, like I know I understand that, like yeah, that's the whole formula of YouTube and stuff, but like no, like not, it's not for me. I'm not that handsome. I'm not YouTube friendly. My dark ways in lipstick wearing, fashion is not YouTube friendly. But on that note, like everybody is feeling the Nightreign shift, the shift of that Nightreign. You got DSP, and the way like he complained, I honestly have to admit, like that happened to me. Like my friends or like my teammates, whatever, led me into like a dead end, and we all died actually, but I didn't lose them, so that was something. And I like I would lose my temper at time to time, but then like I applied myself and I realized that like they're not the problem, I am, because as much as we are limited by our understanding of something, the greater we increase the scope of our understanding, like the better we have a chance of, moving forward with whatever, right? Like you're not gonna get better at anything by just like, you know, not doing it. And speaking of which, like one of the reasons why I made this video, not just to like, recap on the usual bullshit that like, I talk about and stuff, but also DSP, because DSP actually has like, actually no, never mind. They all suck because you know, I always thought to myself that like games journalists that they wouldn't be like one to one with like, people who would be on YouTube or just like, out of the whole corporate media, just smile for the camera type of show business spiel, if you will. Now, I was watching this guy called Dreamcast guy, and he just ripped into Night Rain, just like tore into it. He said, like, his weapons weren't doing any damage. He was taking too much damage. He couldn't level up. You know what I mean? It was just like this weird kind of like understanding of the game where he was not finding out how to like level up your weapon. And I'll show you in this run, I'm getting carried by these two people. I'm only gonna show you the first half. I'll come up with the second half later because it's like, and then the video would just be like a half an hour long. Plus all the armored core and Elden Ring footage I put in there from the beginning. But he said that like it's getting rid of like all the stuff that he liked in Elden Ring. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I might be alone when I say this, but there's a reason why I'm showing you this gameplay. This character right here looks so cool. So cool. And you can't get a character like this at all in Elden Ring. At all. And not only that, like thematically, when you see him doing those like jumps that like, Tora can do off those like, whirlwind thingies, and then he like jumps like super high in the air, like that's really cool. Like these characters can do that in this game, and it makes sense because he's like a bird, so a bird, like eagle, human, pretty cool. Like, well, actually, really cool. Like, I would honestly prefer to be like a character like this, or any of the characters in this game, versus the characters that they give you, the blank slate of characters that they give you to use in Elden Ring. And it's not to say that all the armor sets or whatever in the game are bad. It's just I find them, for all the sake of them being unique and stuff, they tend not to be on the side of aesthetically pleasing, if you will. Like I would look at like, you know, the robe of like, at the Wizard Azure, right? Which has like the strongest spell in the game, the Comet Azure. And he just looks like he has like a crystal dome head. Like it looks kind of cool with his eyes missing and it's like, his mouth sticking out and like, the very stylized, jewelry and all the embroideries and all the feathers and stuff. But like all the armors in the game to me have that kind of like iffy kind of thing, like either they have like a rust to it or like a weird excuse me discoloration that just like makes me not like him as much as like the stuff in this game. And that's just like on the surface level, right? Because seeing as they're just going to keep introducing new stuff to this game, there's no ceiling, there's no limit to it. The problem with like a game like Elden Ring is there's a finality to it. Like once you've seen all that there is to see, like the most you can do is go online, YouTube, and just look it up and see what you're missing. And see, like this is why like Dreamcast guy can't get a game like this, because unless you know the mechanics through and through, like not talking about like the whole plus 20 or plus 10 hero weapon or whatever meta versus like in this game it's more simplified, and quite frankly I'm wondering if it carries over some of the properties and traits that it did from the base game. So let's say like I get like a weapon and it's supposed to have like a very high critical modifier. I can't really check if it has it, so that would be nice. And also sometimes when I'm fighting enemies and then like you do the thing where they get like stunned and then you can do the damage because they're staggered, and then they have like the little orange glowing thing. Sometimes they'll just clip right through the floor. That happened to me like twice. And it's just like small gripes like that versus like just how fun this game is, like the speed. Like you're not constantly getting on and, getting off of a horse. Although I probably have to take it easy on my L3 button because I think that, yeah, it's getting used a lot in this game, so I might just actually get like a different controller, one with like a button where I could just map L3 to a different button so I don't have to press down on the joystick. And it always bothered me. It always bothered me. Like even though like I've gotten used to it with the whole lock on thing with Dark Souls, like I wouldn't mind having two buttons in the back, one for L3, one for R3, and then just press those instead of the joysticks. That's just my own personal take, because like obviously you're going to be clicking those buttons so much, so much. In fact, this is one of those games where every single button on the controller has something to do, like the attack buttons, everything. It's kind of trippy because like even though I want to like change the mapping to like not press the button, like I don't know where to put it. Every single button has has a point of use. So it's like kind of a bust for me. Maybe if I have like a special attachment or like I might most likely I'll have to get like a different controller just for this game and overall for most PlayStation games that require using the L3 and the R3 button. Although to be fair, this controller is like very sturdy and I haven't noticed like any breaking yet. And I'm trying to like, be as delicate and easy on it as possible. But like, most likely I'm gonna have to, uh, yeah, like I'm thinking of like maybe like a razor or something. But I'm like rambling. So not only is like as like everybody like feeling like this Nightreign Shift of like not only another difficult game in like the Souls franchise, but like I like the throwbacks about like how you have like bosses from Dark Souls 1, 2. I think there's one in 3 from 3 in it, but I haven't encountered any of those yet. Because I did see, like, obviously everybody saw, the unknown king. Oh, and they gave the king the name in this game. That's so cool. That's so cool. Like when I first heard him say it, I was just like, wait, what? And then it just sounded so much like Gwyn. I'm like, yeah, that's his name. So I'm not gonna spoil it for you, obviously, but when you play this game and then you hear him like drop the name, you're like, wait a minute, oh, that's his name. He's he's not unknown anymore. That's so cool. But like the biggest like thing I wanted from this game was it to be like connected. It didn't have to be a canonical sequel, but it had to be connected somehow to Elden Ring. And obviously the second thing I wanted was I wanted closure. I wanted to figure out what, you know, what was up with Godwin. Hence why I like made like this video about him and like, not just the worm faces, but also like, Scarlet Rot and all these things about Elden Ring because it has like I think it has some links to Dark Souls. So this connected universe theory is actually kind of cool. And when you think about it like this, like it's kind of like a modern age version of medieval times from Dark Souls, like into the modern age. Oh yeah, it's so futuristic and stuff too, like I know I was supposed to talk about all these other people and recap about like events around the world. Oh, by the way, I don't know if it's just me, like like because I played too much Night Rain and stuff. I wasn't being paying too much attention. But I took a break from playing Night Rain to like check up on Rehab Bro, and he made another video. And yeah, so he's talking about this guy and like this guy who like is on a dating website and like there's a certain line as a man that you shouldn't cross. When you are a certain age and you start putting like I don't know though if he has his permission then I'm just talking out of my ass, right? But like if you put like a person's picture on the internet and without his permission and the person who like your name is Rehab Room, formerly known as Incel TV, so it's like it's not exactly like the highest form of praise to hold and say, hey, look, this guy's talking about you, but like he deleted his video, and all I did was comment because he was like sneak dissing me. He was talking about like how people who play too much video games have disorders, how people who like are into programming or like who are like anti males, just like beta males or some shit like that. And it's just like, dog, what are you doing? Like just because I watch your videos and I make a comment on them and like one or two people might have liked them. Like, dude, do you want to know what happened? There's comment sections, like hundreds of people, thousands of people are engaging with the comments, just like thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes. And I honestly thought that like maybe it's just like people clowning, but like there are a lot of lonely people in this world, unfortunately. So it's kind of cool that like I just leave a comment and then the next day the video's deleted. But most likely it was because of the kid like that he put up in the video. He's too young. It's just like, what are you doing, right? Like he's not like underage or anything. It's just like to him that would be like, it's just too young, dude. Like chill. Like yeah, you're old enough to be put out there, but it's also like, you don't know this guy. But like that's the thing about like what I said before, that like maybe he wasn't like sure of himself. Maybe he wanted to like find out like if he was attractive enough for like, the love of like certain guys out there and stuff. And also Andrew Tate's getting extradited to the UK to get like, charged and shit because they don't want him to run for prime minister because they're so corrupt. But maybe he committed the crimes too, but whatever. Anyways, have fun and check out Nightreign. You're gonna love it. Trust me. Anyways, thanks for watching and take care.